Hey everyone, welcome back to Cleats and Sneaks weekly sports podcast. I'm Nick.
I'm Greg Bishop.
I'm Zach Neal.
I'm Ryan Cook.
And hey guys, I'm Joshua Staples.
Yeah, if you guys couldn't tell, we actually have a new host coming on board with us. It's our good friend Josh Staples. We're going to do a little brief introduction with him real quick. So, Josh, give us your favorite sports teams, your favorite sports moments, and tell us why you're a fan of the teams that you are.
So I have had an awesome year as a sports fan. I am a Chiefs and a Raptors fan. We both acquired some hardware during the past few seasons. And my favorite sports moments easily has to be. Other than winning a championship, for football, it has to be coming back against the Houston Texans. And in the NBA, it has to be the Kawhi Leonard quadruple bounce against the 76ers to ultimately put us over top of the 76ers to go on and win a finals championship. So that has to be it for sure.
I just want to add something here. I know if you're listening and you hear a guy say they're a Chiefs and Raptors fan, you may shake your head. But knowing Josh for a while, he actually is a Chiefs and Raptors fan. He just got really lucky. I've known him probably for about 5 years, and he's really actually has been a Chiefs and Raptors fan somehow.
Not even a bandwagon.
It's kind of weird, isn't it? No, but sure enough, we're kind of jealous of him. Very envious. A lot of luck recently with my team.
Shut up, 6 rings.
Count them.
All right, so can we just get a little bit of backstory on why you're a Chiefs fan and why you're a Raptors fan? Just a little backstory so everyone knows how you became a fan of those teams, Josh.
All right, so a quick a story on the Raptors. I remember growing up, I had the PlayStation 1, and obviously the NBA Live game were a hit. When I was choosing my team at, I think, 5 years old, I see a purple team, and it had a dinosaur on it. So it was an easy decision for me, and that one stuck. And also, Vince Carter is my favorite player of all time. And on the football half of things, I actually grew up a Pittsburgh Steelers fan because of my family, and then I eventually grew, and I watched Jamal Charles play when I was over at Ryan's house actually one day, and I was like, well, I think he's my favorite player in the league, so I'm going to stick with him. So cheat, here I come, and it's stuck ever since. And I believe that was 2011 maybe. So that's
Probably.
how it started.
So today we're gonna have our own little mock draft here on Cleats and Sneaks, and I'm gonna toss it over to Grant, aka the commish.
Yep.
All right.
So we thought it'd be interesting. We all made our own mock drafts, and the plan is I'm going to act as somewhat of a commissioner, one that we hopefully like more than Goodell, hopefully. And I'm going to go round by pick by pick. I'm going to say, just an example. I'll go with the first pick in the 2020 NFL Cleats and Sneaks mock draft. The Cincinnati Bengals take Joe Burrow. Just an example. And so what we'll do, we'll go pick by pick. We're going to, all five of us, say the name of the guy we want to hopefully go with that pick. And then after that, we'll kind of open it up for a discussion. If it's unanimous, we might not talk about it as much. But if four guys think one thing, another guy thinks another, we might want to start off with that guy and see why he thinks that. If we all have different ideas of who gets picked there, we'll probably all spend a little bit more time on that pick. But that's kind of the structure of how we're going to do this video. With that being said, I think we're all ready to start. So I say we just go right into it. Like I said, I'll start and we'll all go in that format. Remembering something, if we have a trade at that pick, we'll talk about that trade in that pick. So if we have a pick at number 4, when it's the 4th pick, whoever has a trade, they'll announce, I have a trade with this pick. Just so we know what we're doing there. So I think we're going to go into it now. I'll start it off with the first pick in the 2020 NFL Cleats and Sneaks mock draft. The Cincinnati Bengals take Joe Burrow, quarterback LSU.
Yeah,
I think that's a unique pick right there.
yeah, I think that's the
That's universal.
consensual pick right there. I think everyone has Joe Burrow go number one. You just can't pass up on a generational talent who had the best single season in NCAA history. You just can't pass up on a man like that.
I guess.
Uh,
Do we all have Joe Burrow? You got Joe Burrow.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
like the only way I don't see them
yeah,
taking Joe Burrow is if they trade, which is an unpassable trade. Like, and that to me is just unreal.
I guess to give a little bit of excitement to the first pick, Nick had an idea that maybe it probably won't happen, but it's an idea we can maybe talk about.
Let me get into that. So the thing is a hypothetical. You look at the Miami Dolphins and like all their draft capital.
yeah.
You have to think about the possibility of them offering everything they have in the first round just to take Burrow. I mean, you're going all in on one guy, but I mean, you get a guy like Joe Burrow who's crazy accurate, can throw on the run. He's Houdini. I mean, I've seen so many great plays out of this man just in one season at LSU. This is great. I mean, I wanted to see what
Yeah.
Josh and Ryan think about this, so I'm going to toss it over to Ryan real quick and see what he has to say.
Yeah, to add on that, what you were saying with the Dolphins, I was looking at that too. With the Dolphins, they have 3 picks in the first round, 14 total picks in the draft, most picks in the draft. I thought, yeah, maybe they could make that move to get Joe Burrow, but I think Miami's looking at it in the long haul. They're trying to build their team better. And Cincinnati, they would be an absolute, I can't believe what they're thinking, kind of ordeal if they were to trade that pick away. You have the
It'd be really
potential
hard.
next big thing, the next big thing in the NFL, possibly right there at one. Why wouldn't you take it? Doesn't make any sense to me
Yeah,
why
I
you
think
wouldn't.
it is a situation where it sounds like a good idea for the Dolphins, but for the Bengals, I think it's a giant hell no. Because if you can get Joe Burrow, I think you stick with that pick.
Yeah. Especially if you're the Bengals.
I mean, like we've seen this guy slicing defenses, and like these some of these defenses that he's playing against were NFL ready
I mean,
talent
he's
on
playing.
him.
That's
SEC
SEC football.
defense.
Exactly
That's NFL football. You know.
in college, like that.
Right.
That no,
That's that level of competitiveness.
he
You know, that SEC football is a different brand. You know, all those guys, it's the NFL with a bunch of 20-year-olds. I mean,
he looked
it's
like a man amongst men, like a man amongst children
yeah.
when he was in the championship game. Like
Yeah, and to add to that was that if you look at the first round, I bet, but everybody on here, their overall draft probably has half of the draft go like from SEC schools. Just plain and simple.
That
It's just
they
they
really
did
this year.
dominate.
Yeah.
and
They
like
really hit it hard.
like to build off on that too, like it's just this draft class was kind of loaded with quarterbacks. Like we see a draft class like this every couple of years, but like nothing like this. We have a guy that Tua, who was 2 years ago we were talking about was going to be the next big thing in the NFL. He's here
Right.
too with Joe Burrow.
Right. And another guy. There's some more guys we're probably gonna get into. A lot
Yeah,
of
for
first
sure.
round QB talent actually.
And I think that we're going to conclude that on the first pick. I mean, it's pretty consensual that we all think Joe Burrow should go number one. So now we're going to move on over to the second pick in the draft. So I'm going to throw it over to the commissioner, Grant Bishop.
All right. So with the second pick in the 2020 NFL Cleats and Sneaks mock draft, the Washington Redskins take Chase Young, edge, Ohio State.
I have Chase Young, edge, Ohio State as well.
Chase Young as well.
Chase Young. Yep.
Chase Young, my boy from the big Ohio State.
Oh
Yes,
yeah.
sir.
Yep. Josh is an Ohio State fan as well.
I
So.
may have forgot to add that in as well. Yes,
Oh,
Ohio
yeah.
State fan. I'm an Ohio State fan for lifer, actually. So
I think if Joe Burrow didn't exist, Chase Young is the first pick of the draft. I think
Oh,
if it's
hands down.
any other guy other than Joe Burrow, you take Chase Young.
Oh, for sure. Like you just can't. Like you look at the man. I can't tell you how much film I've watched
Did he
him.
break the sack record at Ohio State? Josh,
Okay.
do you know? Did he break the sack record?
I don't believe he broke it, but he got pretty damn close.
I know he was suspended 2 games. He was suspended 2 games, and I think he was close. I mean,
He was
that's-
close to beating Joey's record, I think.
Yeah, that's
But I've watched so much film on this man. My Chargers already got They're edge rushers, but it's just feel like edge rusher is one of those positions that's just so fun to watch on film. See how they beat offensive linemen. It's just crazy. I love watching defense. Defense is my favorite part of football. Just to add on to Chase Young's sack record, he did break the sack record. He had 16 and a half sacks, and he even missed two
Two
games
games.
out of that season.
2 games and still broke the
10
record.
game season.
And he had
10 game
16
season.
and a half
Damn.
sacks. He is a monster. You put
That
him on that Redskins defense with Ron Rivera, he's bound to shine.
and Jack Del Rio.
Oh yeah, they did sign Jack Del Rio. That's
Also,
crazy.
he'll be united with the familiar face, their quarterback. Let's think
Yeah,
about that.
right? Yeah.
Like,
Get
so,
Dwayne Haskins.
My boy.
I think Dwayne Haskins gets a real shot this season.
I think it's
they
more
have
locker
they
room
have
drama.
a steady coach now, a good coach, and you don't have 3 quarterbacks. You don't know who's going to start week to week. I mean, was it Colt McCoy, Case Keenum, and Dwayne Haskins? They didn't know who was
Yeah.
starting the next week, and that was
it was a mess over
it
there.
can't be good for a
Well,
rookie quarterback.
You look at Jay Gruden too, and he had a lot of baggage, and they get rid of that.
Right.
So now you have an offensive line that stirred a lot of drama up in that locker room. So hopefully we get Dwayne Haskins some protection in there, and you got some good defensive players. So I'm gonna throw it over to Ryan and Josh, see what they got to say about the second pick.
So for my second pick, I was thinking about it. I wasn't sure, but I was thinking, man, this is the kind of player that could change a team. So what kind of team could go and throw a bunch of capital at this team to get it? And I was thinking Miami could trade for the second pick here and then go grab a Chase Young to add on to that defensive line. But then I came to the realization that that's not going to happen. So for my official one, I went ahead and had Chase Young, Washington. Why in the world, if you're the Washington Redskins, would you not put together the most polarizing defensive front in the whole entire NFL? With the amount of players that they have on the first round last year, Chase Young lining up against each other on the two sides. Inside line, they got Payne and Matthew Ioannidis. The team's going to be pretty defensive, and it's going to be really good if they make that for Chase Young there. I think that it's a no-brainer. I'm going to hand that over to Josh and see what he's got to say about it.
I tell you what, I think we have covered a lot on this, so I'm going to keep it plain and short. 6'5", about like 265 pounds, I believe. He is incredibly explosive. I don't think you can go wrong with picking Chase Young at number 2.
It's pretty consensual again, so we're gonna throw it back over to the commissioner, Grant Bishop, and let's hear the third overall pick.
With the third pick in the 2020 NFL Cleats and Sneaks mock draft, the Detroit Lions select Jeff Okudah, cornerback, Ohio State.
Another one of my boys.
All right, so I'm gonna still throw you guys on a little spin here. I have the Lions trading the third pick to the Chargers, and the Chargers are gonna give up their 6th and 37th overall picks. And I have the Chargers taking Tua Tagovailoa, quarterback, Alabama.
Wow. I stuck with Jeff Okuda. They lost Darius Slay. Why would they risk anything, man? Like they need to get stronger back there again.
With the third pick, I have the Detroit Lions trading to the Miami Dolphins for the 5th pick, a second rounder and a 5th rounder for Tua Tagovailoa from the University of Alabama.
I mean, I've got Jeff Okudah. If you look at Ohio State, I think one of the things that we're known is producing incredible defensive players, especially off the edge and in your secondary. Jeff Okudah, he's a 6'1". He's a 205 unanimous All-American. I don't see how you can go wrong with this pick either if you are Detroit, especially knowing that Matt Patricia is your head coach and he's the defensive mastermind.
All right, so I'm gonna throw you guys talk about my trade, and then I'll give it to Ryan to talk about his trade. I had the Chargers trading up to get Tua Tagovailoa, quarterback Alabama, at the 3rd overall pick, and giving the Lions their 6th overall and their 37th. And I feel like that's all they really need to give up, because I mean, you give them a 7th rounder, then most of those players don't even make the starting day roster. But you get an early pick in the 1st round, and Jeff Okudah's still going to be there, and you get an early 2nd round pick, and you get some really good players there. I think the Chargers get the franchise quarterback for the future. I will rock a powder blue Tagovailoa jersey if we draft this man. You need you need a franchise quarterback to go into the SoFi Stadium to compete with the Rams in the Battle of Los Angeles. You get that franchise guy. You get that guy who sells you tickets.
A little fun that we have going on. If the Chargers do select Tua, and me and Nick have a bet to where if they take him and he wins Offensive Rookie of the Year as a Charger, I buy him a Tua jersey. Now, if that doesn't happen and the Patriots win one playoff game, the Patriots have to win a playoff game, he buys me an Edelman jersey. If both things happen, they cancel out. If neither one of them happen, they cancel out. But if the Chargers take Tua, that's a bet we have going on. So, fun there.
So
I
yeah,
look forward to seeing that.
Yeah, me too. I hope they take Tua because
Tua-
I want to know them.
and dude, Tua Tagovailoa, quarterback, Alabama, Chargers, powder blue. Get the new unis coming in about another week and a half. Can't wait to see that. That'd be awesome. So now I'm gonna throw it over to Ryan since he had a trade with the Detroit Lions and the Dolphins. So here you go, Ryan.
All right, so I looked at the overall what's going to go on here in Detroit. They were known for looking to trade down in the draft because there's teams that are looking to trade up for quarterbacks. Miami's quarterback situation is in 100%. This is their way of saying, "Hey, we want to go get this guy. Let's go ahead and trade up for him. We're only moving back 2 picks in the draft. Well, we're moving up 2 picks in the draft, but it's 2 picks that we necessarily think that this guy is worth, and we're giving up 2 other players for it. Second rounder and fifth rounder. That's nothing to Miami. They still have 12 picks in the draft, even after it. So, in the end, does Miami really do they have to do this trade? They don't necessarily have to, but Detroit, like you all were saying, Jeff Okudah is there. Detroit's going to just get more capital in the end, and they're going to turn that second and fifth rounder into other players that they need on the offensive side of the ball or defensive side of the ball, depending on what their team needs are, to help propel them to making that a playoff contending roster. So it was kind of a win-win for both sides. Miami gets their quarterback of the future. Detroit can build their roster around the players that they already have set in stone.
Alrighty. I think that wraps up the third pick. There's a little bit of change there. The first 2 picks were pretty unanimous, so now we're gonna throw it back over to the commissioner, Grant Bishop, and he's gonna announce the fourth overall pick. All right, take it away, man.
All right, with the fourth overall pick in the 2020 NFL Cleats and Sneaks mock draft, the New York Giants trade their pick with the Los Angeles Chargers. LA takes Isaiah Simmons, linebacker, corner, safety from Clemson.
I like Grant. I have the New York Football Giants selecting Isaiah Simmons, linebacker, Clemson, but without the trade. I think they need that defensive player on their team, the big defensive presence. All right, now throw it over to Zach.
A lot of people may give me a little bit of pushback on this, but you have one of the best young running backs in the league. So why wouldn't you want to have a good lead blocker? And I have them actually picking Mekhi Becton out of Louisville because he was the fastest, hands down, the fastest offensive line. He's a freak.
He was fast. He was pretty
He's
fast.
good.
That's my boy.
So you got to think he's gonna be in front of the running back. He's gonna be a good lead blocker.
Yeah, could you imagine him guard pulling? The guard pull with Becton?
Like
Saquon?
exactly. But now I'm gonna hand it over to Ryan and let him say his pick.
And with the fourth pick, I have the New York Giants trading the pick to the Jacksonville Jaguars. That sees a trade of Yannick Ngakoue and the 9th overall pick going to the Giants. And the Jacksonville Jaguars select Justin Herbert, quarterback, Oregon.
Ooh, a lot of people sleep on that boy Herbert.
You had Herbert going to Jacksonville, correct?
With the
With the fourth pick,
Ngakoue
right, yeah.
pick going to the Giants.
Interesting.
That's really interesting.
Interesting.
All right, Josh, what you got at number 4 with the New York Football Giants?
Yes, sir. I believe. I mean, if you look at the New York Giants, you see that they have an incredibly inexperienced, but potentially pretty good quarterback in Daniel Jones, and the most electrifying young running back in the league in Saquon Barkley, and an okay receiving core. I'm not going to say a really good receiving core, but I have them selecting Andrew Thomas with the fourth pick out of Georgia. Um, I don't think you can go wrong with a good offensive lineman to protect Daniel Jones and to make room for Saquon by opening up some holes for him. I think that this guy is just an all around a stud on the offensive line, and I hope they do that with that pick.
A couple things. Since I did have a trade here, I can kind of talk about the back end of that trade. Like I said, the Chargers trade up and take Simmons. Um, Also, I have in that trade Desmond King going as well to the Giants. That's how they get that fourth pick.
Ooh.
I think they need a corner. Um, and I think Simmons, you can plug him and Jabril Peppers. Those are two guys who can play any position on the field, exception of D line. Maybe, yeah. So you get those two guys. Now you have 9 other spots where you can really fill whatever you want. If you want to get a corner, those guys can step in. If you want to get a linebacker, they can kind of step out. Like they're those caliber guys. So when you add a Jabril Peppers and Isaiah Simmons to that defense, and you pick up maybe Desmond King out of this trade, you can really shore up some things on that defensive side of the ball. Going the other end of the trade, the Giants, I hear a lot of people here talking about linemen. I agree. When I have them trading down, I have them kind of preview at the 6th taking Cedric Willis. I won't really get into that too much because we're not there yet. But you guys talking about the line, I agree. I think the Giants take line.
One more thing to add. This draft class has a lot of depth at the offensive line.
A lot
It's
of
it's just so crazy. I've never seen a draft with so much depth at offensive linemen, and this is what the NFL needs. They need a resurgence of young offensive linemen because you look at the careers that offensive linemen have. They don't have relatively long careers, and a lot of these teams are starting to see their offensive linemen retire. So I think it's a good resurgence to have in the draft. But if anybody else has anything to add, we can add real quick before we go over to the 5th overall pick.
Real quick with my trade that I got. The Giants are looking in the sense that they can get themselves a top flight edge rusher in the NFL already established. They go back trade back in the draft to 9. There's, like you all said, there's tons of offensive line talent in this whole entire draft. They're going to be able to get the guy that they want at 9. So that's the whole entire thought process of that trade. And sounds like we're ready to move on to the next one.
All right. Going into number 5, with the 5th overall pick in the 2020 NFL Cleats mock draft, the Miami Dolphins select Tua Tagovailoa, quarterback, Alabama.
I have the Miami Dolphins selecting Justin Herbert, quarterback, Oregon.
I have them actually selecting Tua.
At 5, I have the Detroit Lions due to the prior trade that I had for the 3rd overall pick, selecting Jeff Okuda.
And at number 5, I also have a Miami selecting Tua.
So we got 3 guys, all kind of with Tua, and I agree. I think, they want him. I don't necessarily think that's a good pick, but I think the Dolphins pick him. But we have Nick saying Herbert.
All right, so the reasoning behind my selection of Herbert at 5 for the Dolphins, and in my mock draft, I had the Chargers trading up, taking their guy Tua Tagovailoa. I mean, this started off with the whole pre-draft process and like the combine meeting that they had with Tua. There were a lot of reports that they were uncertain, and I know a lot of teams have reached up to Herbert just in case that, like, including the Dolphins. I think they're really strong on whoever they get at this pick, Tua or Justin Herbert. I think Herbert's the most NFL ready talent outside of Burrow because you look at the weapons he had at Oregon compared to what Tua had at Bama. He was playing with no NFL talent around him, and he was winning games. Just him. The defense was not helping him any. He had some some lackluster receivers, and then you go and look at Tua, who had Bama, a powerhouse school. I feel like Justin Herbert is probably one of the most NFL ready picks in this draft. I think he can be a starter on day one. Um, he's that man. I honestly do, and I wouldn't be upset if Justin Herbert fell to the Chargers and the Dolphins did select Tua Tagovailoa.
I
If
call it for a bet.
I know, but
I think we should do it either way.
Herbert, I think he's NFL ready. I think he's day one starter material, especially if you put weapons around him. And I think Miami takes him, and they put a little bit of quarterback competition on. They got Rosen. I feel like Rosen hasn't had a fair shake in the league. He gets
What do you
traded from
think
Arizona.
happens with do you think they trade him?
If they draft quarterback in this draft, which is most likely going to happen, you have to trade Rosen. I mean, he's not had a really fair shake in the NFL. He has to start somewhere. He is a starting quarterback in this league. He
I
just
feel
hasn't
like
had that opportunity yet.
I feel like Josh Rosen. He just hasn't. I feel like what was he taking 10 with the Cardinals a couple years ago?
Yeah.
I think when he was coming out of UCLA, I thought that Rosen was gonna kill it. And he got to Arizona, and it was him and Fitzgerald versus the world. It was absolutely sad to watch. And then they get rid of him, and then he goes to the Dolphins, and Fitzmagic happens, and he gets benched. You know, I think deserves to start somewhere. There's teams that need a guy like him, and he just hasn't had a chance.
You know, I don't even think he really got much of a starting chance at Arizona. Like, how many games did he actually start in Arizona?
At
when he was
Arizona?
there? Yeah.
I thought did he? I don't know.
He may have started less than half of games at Arizona.
Well, who else was playing? Was it Blaine Gabbert that was playing
Yeah.
quarterback? I can't remember.
Like,
But,
he really didn't get a fair shake. Like, and I can agree with that.
I think I've explained my pick enough. So I think Ryan had a different pick with the Dolphins here. So I'm letting him take it.
Yeah, I had Jeff Okuda, and everything that's been said about Jeff Okuda is already pretty much out there for because he was picked third in most of your all's draft. I got him here at 5.
Going to the Lions still though.
Going to the Lions, correct?
Yeah,
I'm going to the Lions still. Yeah,
but at 5.
the run on quarterbacks it happens, and at
Yeah.
3 and 4, that's where you want to go up and you want to get your guy. So I have Miami and Jacksonville pushing to get the guy that they can think could be the future of their team. Jacksonville's not made a huge splash in the draft with a quarterback since Blake Bortles, which isn't even really a huge splash in my opinion.
I hate Blake Bortles. That needs to be a running
No,
thing.
Okuda-
I hate Blake Bortles.
Do you guys realize who else was in that draft class, like quarterback wise, and they passed on them?
It's crazy.
Like,
But, Ryan, continue.
But yeah, no, the thing with Okuda comes into a secondary that needs some help. Seriously, got traded, wanted completely out. So Okuda comes in, fills in that role, makes some plays for Detroit, hopefully maybe puts them in contention to win some games in that NFC North. So
Well, Josh, do you have anything to say?
No, I think they go with Mr. Wrist Issues, Tua
Yeah.
Tagovailoa.
Like I
Yeah,
said,
that's
I'm
what
not
they do.
hot on him. I just think that's who they take. I'm not really buying into that. I just think they take him.
well, then maybe if he gets hurt, we might see a resurgence of Josh Rosen.
Maybe they keep him around. I don't know. But
I'm
I
about
think
to say because the big thing is that if Tua if his injury things like really like affecting him big, he falls completely out of the top 5, and he probably goes around like 10 through 15.
yeah, someone takes him.
Yeah.
But I think that's good for number 5. We can go into number 6 now. Via trade, I said previously, in the 2020 NFL Cleats and Sinks mock draft, the New York Giants select Jarek Willis Jr., O-line at Alabama. Now, like I said, this is my trade, so this is the Chargers pick.
All right, and like I said, I had the Chargers. My Chargers trade their pick to the Detroit Lions from 3 to 6. So the Lions take Jeffrey Okuda, cornerback out of Ohio State here. I feel like he's going to get left here. He's going to be there for them, whether they trade down or not.
I still have the Chargers there, and I have them taking Tristan Wirfs. I think it's how you say his name, offensive line, out of
Tristan
Iowa.
Wirfs.
And the reason why is because they're signing Cam Newton. That's what I think. But go on, Ryan.
with the sixth pick, I have the Los Angeles Chargers selecting Isaiah Simmons to build one of the most talented defenses the NFL has right now.
All right, and with my pick, I have the LA Chargers. I don't think they trust Mr. Tyrod, so I have them selecting Justin Herbert out of Oregon. I don't know how you pass up on this guy. I think he's a stud. As a Chiefs fan, honestly, I gotta say he reminds me a little bit of Patrick Mahomes. He's got the throw power, he's got the mobility, but he's not like the quickest guy. But it's all gonna be up to him if he can make the game time decisions when it matters in the NFL.
Back with the Justin Herbert thing, like you said, unheralded, which is I'm glad that you brought that up because Mahomes got picked at 15, I think it was, in the draft 2 years ago, and that was the big thing. They were like, "Why would you pick a quarterback when you have a quarterback already?" But he was very unheralded. They didn't know what teams didn't know what they were going to get out of Mahomes. It's the same thing with Herbert. I think though it's a good pick. What your description of it was perfect, spot on.
Yep, Mahomes was drafted at number 10. I remember my Chiefs trading up. Um, honestly, I was on the fence about the trade, and then I went and watched his highlights from Texas Tech, and I knew that we had a powerhouse.
How quick did it take you to get off the fence? Like when
As
we
soon as I saw his practice film on Twitter, I saw this man sprinting the opposite way down the field. He's got Travis on a hitch route, and he glances over at him for like he glances over at him for 3 seconds, and he throws a rocket. And I saw that practice film on my Twitter timeline, and I knew that he was the guy.
You guys want to hear something funny? So imagine you're in the draft room and you're the Chicago Bears, and you look up and you see Mitch Trubisky, Deshaun Watson, and Patrick Mahomes, and you're like, yeah, Mitch is our guy. Just that was an actual thought that a collective group of men had when looking at a draft board. I can't
I
get
would have
over
loved to
that.
be in that war room.
I would have loved to laugh in that war room.
Someone's losing their job.
All right,
I
so
think they did.
circling back to the number 6 overall, I think we all had some pretty different picks here. I had Jeffrey Okuda
I had Cedric Willis to New York.
to New York via trade, and then Zach had
Tristan Wirfs, because I believe that the Chargers are going to sign Cam Newton before the season starts. Why not? He sells tickets. You said that you need somebody that's going to sell tickets, and Cam's that guy. He's got personality. LA Cam all the way, man.
Before we get into anything else, I have two things. I think earlier I made it sound like I had New York drafting Isaiah Simmons just based on what I was talking about. I think that would be a good scenario. Again, I did have LA taking Isaiah Simmons, but the Jabril Peppers Isaiah Simmons thing was just something I think would be cool. I do still have LA taking Isaiah Simmons. So I'm not saying Cedric Willis, Isaiah Simmons, and Desmond King are on the same team. That would make no sense. And the other thing to Zach, they just got that XFL guy,
Storm Norton.
Storm Norton. Okay, their line. I think they're beefing it up so that they can put anyone back there. I think they're really gonna ride with Tyrod. In my opinion, I think they take Simmons, and I think they ride with Tyrod. I don't know. I could be wrong, but I think they're making that line beef up to where you can throw anyone back there and be competitive. I think it sucks for Philip Rivers. They didn't do it for him, but that's what I think is happening.
That's what I think as well. I think that they add Isaiah Simmons, the final piece to the Chargers puzzle. They need a dominant inside linebacker that can garner some attention. They got a great pass rush. They got some really good secondary pieces, probably the best secondary in the NFL to a lot of people.
Yeah.
And they throw it all together on this team, which is young and it's improving on the defensive side, and the offense is getting some veterans in there mixed in with some younger players as well. Chargers could be a team that they underperformed last year. They're going to be right back in the mix of it again this year.
My only thing with the Chargers is every year they're the team, and then they get on the field, and like I said, their bones turn to glass.
It's like
They
it's like a
just
curse.
it's like it's cool, and then they put on the pads and start running around, and then like ankles break, and you know that's the curse I feel like they have.
It's a plague.
I think that about wraps it up for six, then, right?
Yeah, I think that.
I think yeah, that wraps up for six. My LA Chargers, you know. Alrighty, so we're gonna toss it back over to Commissioner Grant Bishop, and he's gonna announce the seventh overall pick.
All right, with the seventh pick in the 2020 NFL Cleats and Sneaks mock draft, the Carolina Panthers select Tristan Wirfs, O-line, Iowa.
In my mock draft, I have the Carolina Panthers selecting Derek Brown, defensive lineman, Auburn.
I have the Panthers selecting Isaiah Simmons, linebacker.
I have the Panthers selecting Derek Brown, defensive lineman, Auburn.
Carolina Panthers selecting Derek Brown out of Auburn, defensive tackle.
Alrighty, so I think we're gonna go around a little bit, give a little bit brief description of why we chose what we chose. So, Grant, you want to start us off with Tristan Wirfs?
Yeah, they lost Trey Turner. That line needs help anywhere, honestly, and I think he's the best guy available at that pick. They need help bad there, so you take the best guy available, and I think it's him.
Alrighty, so Derek Brown, you look at the line, like that defense, not just their line. You look at the defense, and they lose Luke Kuechly. They don't have like a strong defensive presence now. You could have him drafting linebacker, but when you see like a talent like Derek Brown on the board, you want to put some pressure on some quarterbacks, especially in that division where you're playing Tom Brady and Drew Brees and Matt Ryan. These quarterbacks aren't mobile. You can get back there and you can create some havoc back there, make them throw some passes that they shouldn't probably throw, some dangerous situations.
Well, also, Nick, adding on to what you were saying, if you look at the Panthers, I mean, they just lost Gerald McCoy and Dontari Poe. So I think that this guy is a replacement for them, and I think it is the right choice.
I have them taking Isaiah Simmons because they just lost their star Luke Kuechly, and they need to replace that. And I feel like there's other talent in the draft throughout the draft that they can replace, but Isaiah Simmons, we've all said it, he's an X factor.
It's just crazy to think that, and it's not a knock on you, but like that you think that Isaiah Simmons would fall to this pick at seven. Like that's crazy. I've never seen a mock draft where he doesn't fall to at least six. But I mean, everyone has their opinions, and I respect it. Ryan, do you want to add anything about Derek Brown before we move on to the number eighth pick?
Uh, yeah. So it's pretty simple. Derek Brown, like Josh said, Gerald McCoy's gone, Dontari Poe's gone. They really need that interior line presence. They bring that in. Fits good into a 3-4 scheme already as it is. Big guy right in the center. He should be really impactful there. I see the need for Isaiah Simmons. I just don't see him getting past the top 5, top 6 picks.
Alrighty, so now we're going to hand it over to Grant so he can announce the number eighth overall pick in the mock draft.
All right, with the eighth overall pick in the 2020 NFL Cleats and Sneaks mock draft, the Arizona Cardinals select Mekhi Becton, O-line, Louisville.
Just like Grant, I'd have the Arizona Cardinals at 8 taking Mekhi Becton, offensive lineman from Louisville.
I have them taking Jedrick Willis, offensive tackle.
I will also have them selected Mekhi Becton.
Arizona's going to be selecting Andrew Thomas.
Okay,
So we all got O-line though.
yeah, so we all feel like that.
We all feel that Arizona has a bad O-line.
We all feel like Kyler Murray needs that extra protection back there. He needs a little bit more time to figure out what he's going to do with the ball, but does he need to tuck it and run? That's why I have him drafted an offensive lineman like Mekhi Becton. Could you imagine a lead block? Kyler Murray with Mekhi Becton just down the field. That would be insane. And I know we talked about with Saquon, but like you got, I think, wouldn't you say that Kyler Murray is one of the smaller quarterbacks in the league? He's one of the,
Isn't he like
He is the smallest.
5'10"?
He's 5'10".
Yeah, let's say, could you imagine just him running down the field with one of the fastest offensive linemen I've ever seen in my life, and Mekhi
That's what
Becton?
I have. I think you get Mekhi Becton and you get Kyler Murray maybe behind that. I that would be fun to watch. I still think Kyler Murray though. I don't know. I'm not sold on him.
I feel like he's got a lot of targets now, man. Like he's got D Hop and Larry Legend, man. So
Yeah.
like he shouldn't have.
So what you're saying is he has no excuses.
Yeah,
Yeah,
this year,
no
So when
excuses.
this
no
year
excuses.
when he does Kyler Murray stuff, and I don't know how didn't he win Offensive Rookie of the Year?
He did.
Why? Why did
Yes, he
Josh
did.
Jacobs
Over
not
Josh
win?
Jacobs.
Yeah, why did Josh? I don't care politics. Anyways, I'm not. I don't. Well, how many games did they win?
I think 6.
That's the real stat. we
Enough
care
to put
about.
him at 8.
Yeah. Enough to have him this early in this draft. Yeah.
All right, so if anybody else has anything else to add, if not, we're just going to go ahead and move over on to the ninth overall
I
pick.
I have one thing.
All right.
One thing to say about this pick. I don't know how Arizona managed. The Texans. I don't know what they're thinking. How do you trade away the top 5 receivers in the NFL?
Top
Not get a
one.
first round pick for it. It doesn't. It doesn't even. It doesn't make any sense at all. It doesn't make any sense at all.
It's because
That's all
Bill
I gotta
O'Brien
say.
I think what he's trying to do is he's trying to pamper Deshaun Watson right now. I think they're trying to clear the cap so he can give Deshaun Watson all the money in the world and just blind him to the fact that they're not going to win games under him.
I hope he's a Patriot next season.
I mean, also look, we said it. Larry Fitzgerald. He has less drops than he does
He
like.
has more tackles in his NFL career than drop
And
catches.
So like there shouldn't have been an excuse last year.
And it's like a big number. It's like 39 to 21.
Kyler Murray has the weapons now. DeAndre Hopkins, he has Larry Legend, and he has, is it Christian Kirk that they have, that the speedy receiver? If Christian Kirk?
Yep.
He has no excuse to not.
And they got Kenyon Drake.
Yeah.
I think he's decent.
But I think that's going to conclude it for this pick. We're going to go ahead and move over to number 9.
All right, with the ninth pick in the 2020 NFL Cleats and Sneaks mock draft, the Jacksonville Jaguars select Justin Herbert, quarterback, Oregon.
At number 9, I have the Jacksonville Jaguars drafting Tristan Wirfs, offensive lineman, Iowa.
I have the Jacksonville Jaguars bringing back Saxonville and getting Derek Brown, defensive tackle.
At 9, I have the New York Football Giants selecting Mekhi Becton.
And at number 9, I have the Jacksonville Jaguars actually selecting defensive tackle Javon Kinlaw out of South Carolina.
That's a good pick. I
That
think
is a good pick.
me and Ryan kind of thought the same. I'm not sold on Minshew Mania, and I think Herbert's still there at 9. So I'm not. I think they need a quarterback still.
Minshew is the most Florida thing I've ever seen.
Just-
Minshew is, man, like he fits it.
And I feel like they give Minshew Mania one more time, just get a little bit more protection. Because you look at the games especially the game he had against Denver, where he had no protection. He was able to spin good plays out of nothing, and I think that's the talent that you just don't teach someone who can scramble around inside of havoc inside the pocket, and they just find a good play. I think they give him one more shot. If not, you trade Nick Foles, you get rid of all that cap that you wasted on him, and they have money to hit it in the next free agency. If not, Jameis is still available. I mean,
Yeah, Jameis Winston is a free agent. I don't like that.
He has LASIK. He got LASIK, and Cam Newton's still a free
he's
agent
not
too.
blind anymore.
He can actually see.
He can see now.
all right, Ryan, you want to explain your pick real quick?
Yeah, Becton falls. Plain and simple. I think that Arizona grabs Andrew Thomas just because he was ranked ahead of Becton before the start of all this. Even though Becton's combine was insanely good. I think New York gets down 9. It's their guy. It's pretty much a toss up between the 3, between Wirfs, Becton, and Thomas. But Becton ended up being the best one available out of the 3. So they go ahead and take Becton instead of going for Wirfs.
All right. Josh, who'd you have again?
I had a Javon Kinlaw out of South Carolina.
All right, yeah, I think that's a good pick. I have Kinlaw falling a little bit, but I definitely think he's one of the best D linemen. I think he falls just because out of necessity. I don't know if teams really need that player, but I think he's one of the best D linemen right now.
Alrighty. With that being said, we're gonna go ahead and move on over to number 10, Cleveland
Everyone's
Browns.
favorite team, Cleveland. Just kidding.
Hey, listen. Good thing is they're not in the top 5 this year.
Oh
Like,
yeah, they're making progress. Every
They
year
are.
they get a little bit. You know, when does it get to the point where Cleveland stops being bad?
I mean, they got Odell.
They no, they have
On paper,
everybody.
Yeah, I
paper,
know.
they should.
Oh,
Like,
They lost no one and got Austin Hooper. When do you start winning games? It gets to the point where you gotta win games at some point. You can only suck for so long.
but it's almost like we expect it from Cleveland. But it's
I-
like now it's entertaining, you know?
It's just
How
a
many
train.
quarterbacks have they been through? And like, think about it. In the past 5 years alone, how many quarterbacks have they been
I don't
through?
know, like 16. I don't know. It's high. But yeah, let's talk about okay. With the 10th pick in the 2020 NFL Cleveland Sneaks mock draft, the Cleveland Browns select Andrew Thomas, O-line, Georgia.
Number 10, I have the Cleveland Browns selecting Jedrick Willis, offensive lineman, Alabama.
I actually have the Cleveland Browns trading back with Philadelphia. And Philadelphia is going to give a second round pick along with their first round pick. And Philadelphia is actually going to draft CeeDee Lamb.
Bold prediction there.
at for the 10th pick, I got Cleveland taking Tristan Wirfs to help bolster that O line.
And at number 10, I have the Cleveland Browns selecting Jedrick Wills Jr., offensive lineman out of Alabama. I think that you can't go wrong with this pick because I think that Baker needs somebody back there for him.
Yep. Going what Zach said. I agree. I think the Eagles trade up and take CeeDee Lamb. I'll talk about that when we get there, but not at 10. Not at 10. I think it happens, but not at 10.
I just think that I can't tell you how many times I've heard Baker memes or seen Baker memes this year. And Baker does have his problems, but the biggest problem in Cleveland has to be that offensive line. You have to bolster it up and protect him. I mean, he can make plays. He showed that his rookie year. Going into his sophomore year, he has sophomore slump. You just got to protect the man. He's got weapons. There's no need for it. But I'm gonna throw it over to Zach.
Oh, I love Baker. But Philadelphia, they need a little bit of help at receiver. They did lose Nelson Aguilar. I mean, which isn't like a huge loss, but at the same time, it kind of is. So that's the reason why I think they make that trade. Philadelphia makes that trade.
Cleveland takes Tristan Wirfs here. Pretty simple pick. Like everybody else is saying, they need some help on the offensive line. They have the weapons on offense. They have a two-headed monster at running back. They have the defense. That's really the missing piece for Baker to really prove himself, is for him to have some kind of blocking to help him out so they can help bring Cleveland a championship if it ever comes to fruition.
Right. He's got weapons.
I completely agree with that. So
That's 10. We'll go on to number 11 with the 11th pick in the 2020 NFL Cleveland Sneaks mock draft. The New York Jets select Henry Ruggs III, wide receiver, Alabama.
I have the New York Jets at 11 taking Andrew Thomas, offensive lineman, Georgia.
I have the New York Jets taking Jerry Jeudy, wide receiver.
I also have the New York Jets taking Jerry Jeudy, wide receiver, Alabama.
and I have the New York Jets at number 11, selecting, in my opinion, the best wide receiver in the draft, which would be CeeDee Lamb out of Oklahoma.
Jets need a receiver.
Okay, so I want to talk about this. You look, especially at the game that Sam Darnold played against the Patriots. I only saw ghosts out there.
Can I say one thing?
Yeah,
Wasn't Sam
Now
Darnold-
that Robbie Anderson, that's his name, right?
Robbie Anderson.
Robbie Anderson. Now that he's gone, name me 2 Jets receivers.
I can't do that.
All right.
But I want to explain to you my reasoning for this pick. Okay, you look, like I said, you look at that game. He only saw ghosts out there.
Yeah,
He was
New England
forced to-
representing.
He was forced to throw bad passes because he had no protection. I think that they could possibly make a trade for a receiver going into after the draft. They address their offensive linemen. They get at least one good offensive lineman because God help me. I think they signed some offensive linemen last year that they were supposed to help, but they didn't. They get Andrew Thomas. They plug a hole up in that offensive lineman, and they make a trade for a receiver. I don't know who they would trade for at the moment, but I feel like that's the right move. They could have traded for Stephon Diggs and got him. I mean, you
No
saw what
one
it
said
took.
they were smart.
They're not smart, but I think that's what I would do if I was the GM of the New York Jets. I would plug a hole in my offensive line and worry about offense, like the wide receiver situation after the draft, because you could still get a wide receiver in the second round. The offensive talent in this draft is crazy, but everyone else is pretty apparent that they need a wide receiver. So I'm gonna throw it back over to you guys.
Wide receiver one at that.
Yeah, and
Yes.
and I think me and Josh said different guys. You guys said Judy. I said Ruggs. I think Ruggs is the best receiver off his speed. I don't. I think he's a Tyreek Hill without the baggage. That's what I see out of Henry Ruggs. He's so fast. He can get down the field. I I think they need him. I think they need because with Donald's arm, he can get it there.
For me, I have him taking Judy. Uh, they need a wide receiver one. If there's anything that I know as a Colts fan this past year, we had the best offensive line in the NFL. Debatable, but best offensive line in the NFL. And we didn't make the playoffs because we had so many injuries at receiver that it didn't matter if we had all the time in the world. The receivers are just not getting open as fast. So they add to that core that they actually consist of Quincy Inaugural, a guy who's not really performing well. They get that guy who's going to be there. He's going to put in time, put in the work. He's been with Alabama for 3 years, and he's really just two national championship games. Uh, it's pretty much a like no brainer why you would pick it.
Alrighty, so we're gonna wrap this one up, and we're gonna go and head out to Las Vegas.
Yeah,
Alrighty.
I don't like that. Ugh. Okay, Las Vegas. Yeah, it's a 20 in the 2020 NFL Cleveland Sneaks mock draft. The Las Vegas Raiders select Jerry Judy, wide receiver, Alabama.
I have the Las Vegas Raiders selecting Henry Ruggs, the third wide receiver out of Alabama.
I have them selecting Henry Ruggs as well.
Henry Ruggs is pretty much the recurring theme.
Yep.
And I've got him going with Jerry Judy.
Right. So I guess the thing we really need to talk about is they get an Alabama receiver. Raiders take a receiver from Alabama. It's either Ruggs or Judy. If they don't, I think we'll all be shocked. I think a lot of people will be shocked. So
Yeah, I think
I
it's.
think so too. Yeah.
I think we can just wrap up that pick. It's
Yeah.
pretty straightforward.
Yeah,
They
we
need
got
that big time target since they lost Amari Cooper back in the day.
all right, yeah.
Yep, that's pretty much it.
Well, with that being said, we'll go on to number 13. This is a traded pick. It was originally Indianapolis. Now the 49ers, the Forrest Buckner trade. So with the 13th pick, the San Francisco 49ers will select C.J. Henderson, cornerback, Florida.
At 13, I had the San Francisco 49ers via trade with the Indianapolis Colts selecting Jerry Judy, wide receiver out of Alabama.
I have the 49ers after the trade to replace what they lost, Javon Kinlaw.
At 13, I have the San Francisco 49ers selecting CeeDee Lamb, following the 13 in the draft.
And at the 13th pick in the draft, I have Henry Ruggs of the third.
Yeah, I think we all kind of got a little something different. I'll just start briefly why I think Henderson out of Florida. I think other than Okuda, I think he's a top talent. And for me, you have Sherman, and he's great. And I think that's why San Fran's DBs aren't really talked about as weak, because you can't say they have a weak secondary and Richard Sherman being it. But outside of that, I really don't like their DBs. So I think you can C.J. Henderson, and it kind of shores that up a little bit.
Alrighty, now going into the pick for wide receiver Jerry Judy at Alabama, you John Lynch, he's doing pretty good out there. He rebuilt a team that was on the declining side. They lose Emmanuel Sanders via free agency to the Saints. I think they need to replace that guy, and no better than one of these receivers out of Alabama. We talked about it, how good they are off their slants. You give a guy like Jimmy Garoppolo someone who can run off a slant and go get you like more than 15 yards. I feel like that's something
Right.
you can't pass up. And to talk about the DBs, I know it's hard to bring up like because you can only think of Sherman, but they did sign Jason Verrett. I don't know how healthy he was last year. I don't know if he get to play that much. I didn't really keep up with the Niners DBs all much last year. I know they have him. He should be healthy to play this year, so I think moving forward, that's who they're going to rock with.
I'll just say this: I found out Jason Verrett was on the Niners halfway through the season. So, that being said,
All right, we'll throw it over to Zach so I can give an explanation about his pick.
Okay, so obviously they had arguably one of the best defensive lines last year. I think we can all agree that. They lost a major piece, which was a Pro Bowler, out of DeForest Buckner for the trade in the first round because obviously they couldn't afford to re-sign him. And they had to pick between him and a couple other people, and they chose they'd rather sign the other guys and trade him away and then have someone else handle that money. So obviously they're going to replace somebody that's going to be cheaper. He's going to be on a rookie contract. It's going to be way cheaper than re-signing DeForest Buckner, but he's going to be good. So why not sign another? Draft another defensive tackle.
Just find the replacement. Of what
Just
they
to refine
lost.
the replacement of what they were going to lose anyway. Got value out of it.
Gotcha.
all right.
That's fair. So for me, I have San Francisco getting CeeDee Lamb. Contrary to belief, CeeDee Lamb he had a pretty normal combine. He was not horrible, but not like as good as everybody expected him to be. Didn't have a top receiver combine. That belongs to Henry Ruggs, who went the pick prior for me. So that number one receiver to really bolster up that receiving core with George Kittle, him, it makes their offense run a little bit smoother. On the defensive side, like you're saying, I can name a lot of younger guys that didn't make an impact towards the end of the season when they had injuries come up and show up through the playoffs and stuff, like Emmanuel Mosley. I feel like that they're kind of slept on. They're going to improve, get better. So that's why I went ahead and said CeeDee Lamb.
Again, I was just gonna say, I went DB just because I think they're great, the team wise, and I didn't really know what else they needed, so I was just kind of thinking a filler guy, but that's why I think I'm the only one who even went DB.
Alrighty. I think that concludes San Francisco pick at number 13. So toss it over back to Grant for Tampa Bay at 14.
Right, I've been really excited for this. I'm gonna make a lot of people scratch their heads. So with the 14th pick in the 2020 NFL Cleats and Sneaks mock draft, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers select Jordan Love, quarterback, Utah State.
Tampa Bay
Wow.
Buccaneers at number 14 select C.J. Henderson, cornerback, Florida.
I have been selecting Andrew Thomas, offensive tackle.
At 14, I had Tampa Bay taking Jedrick Wills Jr.
And at number 14, I have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, or the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, as I have them selecting C.J. Henderson out of Florida.
My man, agree with me. Alrighty, we're going to throw it over to Grant because he's got a little head scratcher for us. So he's going to give us a little bit of brief explanation for the pick of Jordan Love to the Tom Brady Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
I just knew that
This is
you
gonna
got
be
it.
good.
Yeah, okay. I thought about this. I'm not just saying names. I really thought about this. So, yeah, they got Tom Brady. Tom Brady, I love Tom Brady. Huge Patriots fan. I'm not jealous. That's not what this is. He's 40, 42 right now, right? 40. He'll be 43 when the season starts. Okay? He has 2 years. He has a very retirement-looking contract. It's a fully guaranteed $50 million contract. No clause. He has no trade clause, no franchise tag clause. This is a retiring contract, and it's in Florida. I think it's visible. I don't think Jordan Love is year one starter ready anyways. I think if he starts anywhere year one, it's a mistake. So if you can get a guy like Jordan Love, throw him behind a guy like Tom Brady, you can kind of prepare because he's there for 2 years. They don't have a franchise quarterback for 5, 6 years. That's not what they have. They have a win now quarterback. So if you get a guy like Jordan Love behind him, let him learn the system for 2 years, from a guy like Tom Brady, you can have a really smooth transition, I think. Also, you have Tom Brady. You're not going to get any early picks the next 2 years. They're going to win games. So I think 14th is the earliest they're going to have for the next couple seasons. And if Jordan Love's there, I think they take him. So that's my reasoning behind the Jordan Love 14 for Tampa.
And like Grant stated, I think you can't pass up on a quarterback, especially when you're going to be this slow for the first time in like it's the only time you're going to be this slow in the next coming years because you have a quarterback who has a championship mindset. You come in there, you change a whole culture of a team. You give everybody a little bit taste of something that they want. They play their hearts out. It completely changes the way it is. Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going to be inside the talks for the playoffs. It's going to be weird, but Tom Brady's going to go change the culture there. It's hard not to argue that. I mean, you look at what happened in New England, and you can say it was just Belichick. Tom Brady had a huge part in that. But I agree with Grant here. I think if they do take Jordan Love out of Utah State here, changes the whole culture, teaches a good, pamper young, good quarterback how to win in a system that he can get comfortable in.
I said they take offensive line because it's Tom Brady. You said it yourself. He's not mobile,
He's
but damn, he can throw the ball.
he can.
So you're gonna want to give him that time. You have these speed receivers. You have all these guys that'll work out. I would honestly work on protecting Tom Brady, the guy that I put all this money into, and also that I'm buying into completely. I would work on protecting him completely.
And I agree with anyone that says line. My thing is a total shot in the dark. If they don't take Jordan Love, which is so slim, O line is where I think they go. So if for those of you that said O line, I agree there.
That's where I'm riding. I'm riding O line there because, like I said, you spend money on the quarterback that you feel like is going to win you a championship. You're going to protect that quarterback. That's the only reason why I go with Jedrick Wills.
Yeah. I just don't really. My thing about O line rookies, with the exception of Quentin Nelson, I just don't really know when it's a good idea to start rookie lineman. I mean, you do it, you start rookie lineman, but it never pans out the way that it's supposed. It takes them a few years, like exception Quentin Nelson. That's why I just don't think.
Speaking on offensive linemen starting in rookie years, I look back to my man DJ Fluker, who plays for the Seattle Seahawks now. Came in, he did his work, helped Melvin Gordon, saw a decrease, got rid of him, and now he's resurging his career in Seattle. So, I mean, me and Josh had Tampa taking C.J. Henderson, quarterback out of Florida. You think about the Bucks secondary? I really couldn't tell you who's playing DB back there. It's a
I
little bit
know they
hard.
have Mike Edwards because I'm a Kentucky fan. If I wasn't a Kentucky fan, I wouldn't know who Mike Edwards
Exactly.
is. So
Give them a guy back there who can cover some tough matchups, especially in that division where you have Mike Thomas and Julio Jones. You got to have that one guy who can go in there week in, week out, plug those holes, make sure that nothing's going to happen. Cover. It's a big time play corner, and I think that's what they need right now. Josh, what do you got to add to that?
Well, I agree with everything that you said, but more importantly, you need to get some pieces in that defense so that you can get Brady back on the field. Plain and simple.
yep,
That's true.
I agree.
That is true.
I agree.
We're forgetting that Tom Brady is the best game manager we've ever seen. If he wanted to, he could sit on the field all day. Like if he wanted to, and it would be fine. He could chew a whole quarter in one possession. We like game management.
Yeah, I know. I think I've watched maybe 150 games, and now I'm not going to get to watch it as a Patriot. Oh,
Alrighty, I
I'm
think this is
sad.
one of the biggest controversial picks because there's so many directions that they can go in the future of this pick. And Ryan, if you want to
I
add
mean,
one
I
more
also
thing,
look at trade. Yeah, I also looked at trade for this pick. So, that's what it really came down to. I was like, Philadelphia might move up. I'm looking at other teams that could possibly want to trade back into the first round, Indianapolis. But I was like, it doesn't make sense to trade away 13 to go and get 14. So
Are you
But yeah,
guys
but
gonna
no, that's
feel?
pretty much it.
Are you guys gonna feel even kind of bad for me this season when the Patriots struggle?
No,
No,
no.
This is gonna
You guys
feel-
are just gonna get Trevor Lawrence next year if you do if you do struggle.
No,
they
Belichick
they
said
don't
that
tank.
they're riding with Stidham.
Yeah, they're riding with Stidham.
They
They're
s-
not. They don't plan on drafting a quarterback.
McDaniels and Belichick they think that he's like the guy.
Oh,
Yeah, I don't
Well.
know.
we'll see.
Alrighty, so now we're gonna move on to number 15 with the Denver Broncos. All right, Grant, take it away.
All right, with the 15th pick in the 2020 NFL Cleats mock draft, the Denver Broncos select Derek Brown, D tackle, Auburn.
Denver Broncos, number 15. They draft C.D. Lamb, wide receiver out of Oklahoma. I think he falls here to them.
I think at number 15, the Denver Broncos take C.J. Henderson, cornerback.
At 15, the Denver Broncos trade the pick to the Dallas Cowboys. They fall back 2 picks. And they also get a Dallas third-round pick to select Christian Fulton, defensive back.
And with my 15th pick, I have the Denver Broncos, and you guys might even crucify me for this. I have the Denver Broncos selecting Jordan Love. I don't believe in Drew Lock. I think
don't
that they
either.
decided to go with a new guy. I think that they use Drew Lock potential trade leverage in the future, and I think that they go with a rather slept on quarterback in Jordan Love in this draft.
Alrighty. So give you a little bit brief explanations because we're gonna start flying through these picks real quick. I think Denver gets wide receiver here because they only have Cortland Sutton lining up for Drew Lock. I think Drew Lock's the answer for them moving forward. He did pretty good this year, but I think they just need another target. So that's my explanation for that.
I think that the Broncos go cornerback here with C.J. Henderson because of the fact that they lost Chris Harris Jr. They need to replace that
I agree.
for sure.
Yeah, I had Derek Brown. I don't like their line, their D line. I don't like it, and I still have him here. I think he should go. He might go higher if he's still there. I think it's a no-brainer.
It's crazy they have Bradley Chubb and you don't like their D line.
Yeah, but he's not.
He's not the same
he's
Bradley
not-
Chubb.
He's not healthy though. He
Yeah,
didn't play
true.
last season. I like Bradley Chubb, but he wasn't healthy.
Okay.
I have Dallas taking Christian Fulton to help replace the
Byron
void,
Jones.
For Byron Jones.
Yeah.
And this is also a snipe at Atlanta. Atlanta was looking at Christian Fulton. So they go ahead and sniped Atlanta out, moved up 2 picks to take him.
And well, I mean, I've already stated plain and simple, is if you look at a team who is trying to rebuild a competitive AFC West, I think that rebuild part 1 for the Broncos was a dumpster fire. So I think it's time to move on to rebuild part 2, get Drew Lock out of there, and get Jordan Love in.
Good idea. I don't like Drew Lock. I think he's funny. That's it.
I just think that with that division, because you guys said it, that division's loaded. It's loaded with receivers. Like, there's no way that you don't take corner to help in that division. I think Drew Lock is fine. I think he's good enough, but defense wins championships, right? So let's just.
Well, that's what we were told until the Chiefs ran that. I grew up believing that philosophy, but Andy Reid disagrees.
All right, moving on to 16 with the Atlanta Falcons. Grant, take it away.
All right, the Atlanta Falcons at the 16th pick take Clavon Chassing, edge, LSU.
At 16, I think Atlanta takes Trayvon Diggs, cornerback, Alabama.
I think Atlanta takes T. Higgins, wide receiver.
Okay.
I have Atlanta taking C.J. Henderson, cornerback, Florida.
And at the 16th pick in the draft, I also have the Falcons selecting Clavon Chass, edge out of LSU.
My man, there we go.
Alrighty. I think we just addressed team needs. They need corner. They need
We're
edge.
definitely going to talk about why in the world do you think they take T. Higgins?
I just think you give more offensive power. Okay, they have. Listen. I know they have Julio Jones, Calvin.
Yeah, but
Ridley.
they don't need offensive power. They need defense.
Yes, they have Julio Jones and
Yeah,
Calvin
they have
Ridley.
Calvin Ridley.
Exactly, but let's look at what's working. You
They
said it
need-
yourself.
they need-
Hyper offense. This works.
They just added Todd Gurley.
Yeah, Todd Gurley.
And they got Todd
Jones,
Gurley.
Calvin
Exactly.
Ridley, Matty Ice,
Let's
like,
add-
you know what? T. Higgins.
T. Higgins at 3. Just do it. Like, don't question it.
Alrighty. I think we got some laughs out of this one. Now we're gonna move over to
Wow, so I think
the Cowboys at number
brain scratch.
17.
T. Higgins. Okay, whatever. If they. Okay. With the 17th pick in the 2020 NFL Cleats and Sneaks mock draft, I previously said that I had a trade, and this is where this comes in. This is the Dallas Cowboys pick, but I have them trading with the Eagles at 21. So the Philadelphia Eagles at 17 take CeeDee Lamb, wide receiver, Oklahoma.
Here I have Dallas taking Jalen Johnson, cornerback out of Utah.
I have Dallas actually taking Clavon
Chassis.
Chasen, defensive end.
17, I have the Denver Broncos selecting Justin Jefferson.
Okay.
And at number 17, I have the Cowboys selecting Cesar Ruiz, center out of Michigan.
Alrighty, so I think we addressed that the Cowboys need to plug the hole of where they have a missing Byron Jones. We have defensive end.
Like I said, I think Philly. Since this is Dallas's pick, I'll talk about Dallas's pick at 21. So this is at 21. I think Dallas takes a corner as well. I haven't taken Jalen Johnson of Utah corner, so I think they do need a corner. I just don't have it at 17. I have the Eagles taking CeeDee Lamb like Zach had, not at 10 though, but at 17. Because of what I have, I think CeeDee Lamb. He may not be there, but if he is, that's why I think they trade for a receiver. And I have CeeDee Lamb here.
Alrighty, I think we're good with this pick, and we're gonna go ahead and move over on to number
18.
18.
This is a Minka Fitzpatrick deal. This was originally the Pittsburgh Steelers pick, but since they traded for Minka, the Dolphins on this pick. So with the 18th pick in the 2020 NFL Cleats Sneaks mock draft, Miami Dolphins select Patrick Queen, linebacker, LSU.
I think at 18, the Miami Dolphins via trade with the Pittsburgh Steelers, they get Justin Jefferson, wide receiver out of LSU.
I have them taking Yoder Gross Matos, defensive end.
Too solid.
At 18, I have Miami taking Josh Jones, left tackle.
And I have the Miami Dolphins at 18. I select Grant Delpit, safety out of LSU.
I like that. I like Grant Delpit a lot. He's been so left out of these previous
He's slept
mock.
on.
Yeah, all these in the early ones, huge first round. These last ones, I see him second. I haven't really seen him in any first rounds. I like Grant Delpit though.
That was his combine. Did he participate in the combine?
He
He
did.
didn't do so well.
Yeah, I think that's what.
But
hurt
I
him.
think the combine is taken more in consideration when these happen than actual like on-field talent. So I honestly take the combine with a grain of salt with some players.
Well, I feel like a lot of the
Well-
things that they look at the combine, because I know like the Colts, they talked
You
about
got
it.
that.
What they look more in the combine is the medical aspect because you get checked into your medicals there, and they look at how long the longevity of the player and like how healthy he's going to be. And I think that's what hurts players there.
Right. What were you gonna say, Josh?
Well, in Miami, like, I mean, if you think about it, like, you lose Minka Fitzpatrick,
Yeah.
but you also have Xavier Howard and Byron Jones now. I don't know why you don't add another DB piece.
And you can make that DB core scary.
Mm-hmm.
18, I had Josh Jones get an offensive line piece for the protect Tua because Tua got picked by Miami at 3 early in the draft for me.
All right. Well, I think we're good there.
Number 19.
I'll talk about mine real quick before we go to 19. I had Patrick Queen, linebacker. I think he gets taken here because they don't really have a linebacker. I don't think they have a good one, a solid one.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
So I'll go Patrick Queen there. So at 19, this is a Khalil Mack trade. Las Vegas Raiders select at 19 via Chicago, Khalil Mack. So Las Vegas Raiders in the 2020 NFL Cleats Sneaks mock draft select Kenneth Murray, linebacker, Oklahoma.
That's a good pick.
At number 19, I have the Las Vegas Raiders via the trade with Chicago, selecting Christian Fulton, cornerback out of LSU.
I actually have the Las Vegas Raiders selecting AJ Terrell, cornerback.
At 19, I have the Las Vegas Raiders taking Trey Diggs,
And at
cornerback.
pick 19, I have the Las Vegas Raiders selecting Jalen Johnson out of Utah, cornerback.
Right. That's a good one. I had Jalen Johnson, like I said, with Dallas. So I don't have Jalen
A
Johnson on
couple
the
picks.
board, but I definitely think that's a good one too.
Yeah, I mean, this is a deep draft for DBs and for DBs in general. I can definitely say that.
I just think
Yeah.
they need linebacker because, and they have Perfect, but I mean, I think he's more of a name than like really helping them out.
Sure.
So I think they need a linebacker, and I think Kenneth Murray dominated this season. He destroyed it at Oklahoma, and I think they pick him up.
Alrighty, so now going into 20, we got the Jacksonville Jaguars with the trade for Jalen Ramsey with the Rams, and they got him selecting here at 20. All right, Grant, take it away.
All right, Jacksonville Jaguars via Los Angeles Rams take AJ Epinenza, Edge, Iowa.
At number 20, I have the Jacksonville Jaguars taking Kayvon Chaisson, defensive end out of LSU.
I have the Jacksonville Jaguars taking Jalen Johnson, cornerback.
I'm on the same page with Nick. Jacksonville takes Kayvon Chaisson.
And I have the Jacksonville Jaguars like reloading their offense. So I think that Mr. Justin Jefferson out of LSU, wide receiver, I believe he's going to fall to them.
Yep, a lot of team needs for Jacksonville. So got some DBs, some linemen, and a receiver. So we'll move on from there. 21. Like I said, I have a trade here. This is originally the Philadelphia Eagles pick. I had Dallas picking here, taking Jalen Johnson for me. So this is the Eagles pick. I have Dallas selecting Jalen Johnson, quarterback Utah via trade.
Here at number 21, I have Philadelphia Eagles drafting T. Higgins, wide receiver out of Clemson.
Here at 21, I have the Browns because they traded in Philly. They are taking Patrick Queen, linebacker.
Yeah, they just lost
Good pick.
Schobert. Yeah, and
Here at 21, I have the Philadelphia Eagles surprising everybody, going and reaching out and grabbing Jonathan Taylor, Wisconsin running back, with the 21st overall pick.
All right. And then with the 21st overall pick in the draft, I have other Philly selecting Denzel Mims, a wide receiver from Baylor.
Whoa, that's a good one. That's a good pickup.
yeah. So like I said, this is for me a Dallas. For everyone else, this is a Eagles pick. And earlier I said they have CeeDee Lamb. They need everything.
On offense, except for tight end, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I don't feel bad for them. I don't like the Eagles. You guys know why. Anyways, this next pick is the Minnesota Vikings pick via Buffalo. Stephon Diggs here. So, Minnesota at 22 takes Zach Bond, linebacker, Wisconsin.
22, I had the Minnesota Vikings drafting Denzel Mims, wide receiver out of Baylor.
I have the Minnesota Vikings drafting receiver as well, but it's Brandon Ayuk.
Wow. 22, I have Minnesota taking Javon Kinlaw.
All right. And at number 22, from the Buffalo Bills, I have the Minnesota Vikings. Even though they lost Stephon Diggs, I have them drafting a Trayvon Diggs, cornerback out of Alabama.
Let's move on to number 23, New
Oh,
England
yay.
Patriots.
Okay, yeah, New England. The 23rd overall pick in the mock draft we have. I have New England taking Xavier McKinney, safety, Alabama.
Number 23, the New England Patriots select Adri Espinenza, defensive end, Iowa.
I agree with Nick. They're gonna take AJ Espinoza at defensive end.
23. Shock the world. They lied to you. New England's taking Jordan Love, quarterback.
I hope not.
I have a New England. I think that they are going to be looking stack their defense a little bit better. So I have them selecting edge rusher Yatir Gross Matos
Matos.
out of Penn State
Yeah.
Junior.
Yeah, I think the three out of five, we all think he's gonna go. They're gonna go D line. I think defense for sure. Uh, we lost a lot of key components, so probably gonna go defense. Moving on from that, we got 24, the New Orleans Saints. I have them taking Kayvon Kinlaw, D tackle, South Carolina.
Alrighty. I got the New Orleans Saints taking that man, Kenneth Murray, linebacker from Oklahoma.
I'm definitely agree. Kenneth Murray's going to the Saints.
That's what my pick is as well. Kenneth Murray to the Saints.
I also have it too. So Kenneth Murray, you get ready for some shrimp and rice, and because you're going to New
Gumbo!
Orleans,
Just don't eat too much like Zion.
That was pretty good.
you're going to Nolans.
I would have had them taking a linebacker, but I didn't think that the linebackers that I thought they would take, I have them gone in my mock draft. But definitely, Kenneth Murray. I'd love to see him in New Orleans. So I agree with you for me, he's not there, so they take Kinlaw, D tackle. I don't really like their line other than Cameron Jordan. I think from there, we'll move on to 25. Also, Minnesota Vikings. I have them taking T. Higgins, wide receiver, Clemson.
At number 25, I have the Minnesota Vikings taking AJ Terrell, cornerback out of Clemson.
The Minnesota Vikings taking Xavier McKinney, safety.
25, I have the Minnesota Vikings taking Jeff Gladney, cornerback, TCU.
And I have the Minnesota Vikings at number 25, selecting Jalen Rieger, wide receiver out of TCU. I like this guy.
Yep, I think we all think that Minnesota needs a receiver.
R.I.P. Diggs.
Right. Thielem's great. Adam Thielem's a monster, but he's can't do it on his own.
I have Minnesota taking AJ Terrell for the sole purpose of them having that giant hole in their offense, in their defense,
Yeah.
with Xavier Rhodes. Rhodes were definitely open in Minnesota. Hopefully, that's not the case.
Did the Vikings fall off this offseason or what?
It's crazy.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, they lost their whole entire secondary. They lost Rhodes. They lost pretty much everything. They lost Rhodes, Mackenzie Alexander, and Trey Wayne. So, yeah, they have to take corner here.
They lose so much. And Griffin, he just hasn't signed anywhere, has he?
Mm-mm.
Yeah, dude. I feel bad. They had a real shot a couple years in a row.
Alrighty, now looking at 26.
26, this is the Miami Dolphins pick. Should have been Houston. This is the Laramie Tunsil trade. So 26, the Miami Dolphins select Josh Jones, O-line, Houston.
At number 26, I have the Miami Dolphins via trade with Houston, drafting Grant Delpit, safety out of LSU.
Josh had that too, right?
Yep.
Earlier, yeah.
I have
Earlier, yep.
I have Miami Dolphins taking Josh Jones as well.
Nice.
For me, at 26, the Miami Dolphins fill their backfield need and get DeAndre Swift out of Georgia.
And at number 26 for me, I have the Dolphins selecting Isaiah Wilson, offensive line, Georgia.
Yeah, they need a line safety. Nick addressed that. Josh also addressed. Moving into 27, I'm going to kind of go off of what Ryan just said. I have the Seattle Seahawks taking DeAndre Swift, running back Georgia, instead of Miami.
At number 27, I have the Seattle Seahawks taking Josh Jones, offensive lineman out of Houston.
I have Seattle Seahawks taking Austin Jackson, offensive tackle.
I have Seattle taking AJ Epinesa.
I also have a Seattle at number 27 taking AJ Epinesa from Iowa, edge rusher.
Yeah, I think they might lose Clowney, and if they do, that's a big hole to fill. So I can see them taking that there. 28, Baltimore Ravens. I have them taking Justin Jefferson, wide receiver, LSU.
At number 28, I have the Baltimore Ravens selecting Brandon Uyek, Wide receiver out of Arizona State.
I have the Baltimore Ravens not selecting wide receiver, taking Zach Bond, linebacker.
28, Baltimore takes Jalen Rager.
At number 28, I have the Baltimore Ravens selecting Zach Bond, linebacker out of Wisconsin.
So 29, surprise team. I don't know how they're picking this late, but they sure are. Tennessee Titans. At 29, select Austin Jackson, O-line, USC.
At 29, I have the Tennessee Titans selecting Javon Kinlaw, defensive lineman from South Carolina.
Get ready, guys. I have the Tennessee Titans selecting Thaddeus Moss, tight end.
Okay, with the 29th pick, the Tennessee Titans select A.J. Terrell, cornerback Clemson.
And with the 29th pick, I have the Tennessee Titans selecting Curtis Weaver, edge rusher out of Boise State.
All right, with the 30th pick, the Green Bay Packers select Ross Blacklock, D-tackle, TCU.
With the 30th pick in the mock draft, I have the Green Bay Packers selecting Jalen Rager, wide receiver at a TCU.
Here's another shocker. I have the Green Bay Packers selecting Justin Herbert.
You haven't had Justin Herbert go yet?
No.
Have you watched NFL?
Oh, I have.
God.
But I know there's a lot of questions with other people, and
All right.
I just wanted a shocker just in case it happened, you know?
All right, if Justin Herbert falls 30 to the Green Bay Packers, I'll buy you a Philip Rivers Colts jersey.
I don't want that.
All right, well, that's what you're getting.
All right, Ryan.
At 30th, the Green Bay Packers select Denzel Mims, wide receiver.
And at the 30th overall pick, I have the Green Bay Packers selecting LaVisca Chenault Jr., wide receiver out of Colorado.
Nice. We're getting to the final two picks here. 31, San Francisco selects Grant Delpit, safety LSU. I think he's still there.
At 31, I have the San Francisco 49ers selecting Xavier McKinney, safety from Alabama.
At 31, I have the San Francisco 49ers selecting Chase Claypool, wide receiver.
At 31, I have a trade. I have the Denver Broncos trading back into the first round again for Xavier McKinney,
Nice.
safety.
And at number 31, I have the San Francisco 49ers, Jeff Gladney, cornerback out of TCU.
All right, nice. Final pick here. We're getting at the very end. Final pick in the 2020 NFL Cleats and Sneaks mock draft. The Super Bowl champions, Kansas City Chiefs, select A.J. Terrell, cornerback, Clemson.
All right, at 32, I have the Super Bowl champions, Kansas City Chiefs, selecting Austin Jackson, offensive lineman out of USC.
At 32, I have the Super Bowl champions taking something that they may have struggled with a little bit this year, but not too much. Running back Jonathan Taylor.
Okay.
At 32, I have Kansas City taking Noah Igbanagin, cornerback.
Yep, I think they need a corner.
First of all, I appreciate the Super Bowl champs like intro to our name. Appreciate that.
Yeah, you won't hear it again.
But however, if you guys know me and who I really want my Chiefs to select in this draft, I know in my mock draft he has fallen quite a bit, but I've got us selecting Patrick Queen out of
Knew it.
LSU, linebacker.
You got some wishful thinking.
You're absolutely right.
I hope he does. That'd be cool, but wishful thinking.
It would be cool.
I have
That's who I
Jalen.
want.
I have Jordan Love falling into the second round because I want the Colts to get him.
Whoever said Jonathan Taylor, though, I do appreciate that. I would like that pick as well. That was you, Zach.
Yep.
I would like Jonathan Taylor on my team.
And I believe that covers the inaugural Cleats and Sneaks 2020 NFL mock draft. If you guys don't mind sharing us on all your socials, follow us on Twitter, and just stay tuned. Follow us here on Anchor.
Now, if anything happens, you heard it here first.
And on episode 3, we're going to have a what if NBA scenarios with the whole entire shutdown of the NBA season. We're going to put up some hypothetical situations and see what would happen. That's it for me, Nicholas Neal. Hope to guys see you in the next episode.
Yeah, Graham Bishop signing off here. Want to also say thank you, Josh, for giving your mock draft and joining the show.
Zach
Sir, I'm
Neal.
happy to be here.
Signing off here. Anything that we've said happens here. It'd be
You
great.
heard it
Yeah,
here. We're
yeah.
going to be posting these mock drafts on our Twitter. Look at them. If we get some stuff right, we'll definitely say that we got them right.
This is Ryan Cook signing off. Adios, muchacho.
And this is Joshua Staples. I am happy to be joining you guys, but for now, I'm signing off. Catch you guys on episode 3.
Thank you guys. Follow us on our social, Twitter at Cleats Sneaks Pod, and follow us on Anchor. Thanks. Have a nice day, everyone.